Let's try mine again.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's school board meeting. It is April the 13th. All board members are in attendance. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would someone like to move approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. First off tonight, we have our recognition of students, staff, and public. The first thing we're going to do this evening is recognize Kingsley Holman for his years of service to our district. And I'll ask the superintendent to please say a few words.
Mr. Holman, could you please join me? Come on, please.
What am I supposed to do? Just listen to me. I'll keep us out of trouble.
Yes. In April 1955, 60 years ago to this month, the then school board passed a resolution appointing Mr. Kingsley Holman to represent our school district on legal matters. That started a relationship that has endured 7 superintendents and countless board members changes. So Kingsley, I'm here to say I thought it'd be fitting to give you a gift for our 60th anniversary. So I looked up what the 60th anniversary gift is, and it's a diamond. Unfortunately, Kingsley advised me that the district should never give away excessive or extravagant gifts. So I'm going to follow your advice, Kingsley, but I will give you a gift because I know you deserve the recognition. At the same time, you avoid the limelight, so I'm going to give you the next best gift to a diamond, and that is to keep my words of recognition brief. Now, it's my honor to recognize you, Kingsley, for all your services that you've done to the district. You're the hero of our district because you epitomize all the values that we stand for. You're a role model of respect. You're a gentleman who listens patiently, has a great sense of humor, and when you give advice. The other thing you've done is you take your responsibility very seriously. 60 years of service. That is very impressive. It is a personification of advice given by another wise person, and that's Confucius. He said, find a job he loves, and he'll never work a day in his life. And that is how I always saw you at your job. You love what you do. Next is integrity. You've always done what you say you're going to do, and you've given us great advice. You kept us out of trouble. You saved us millions of dollars over the years, and I really appreciate that. As far as citizenship, he's always been about service. He served his country, our country. He's a World War II veteran. He served our community not just as our attorney, but you served this community as a judge. He's also a radio talk show host. He was a celebrity. And the third thing you've done is you've been very active politically. That's citizenship. Honesty, you've always dispensed great legal advice, but you've also given counsel on an interpersonal level. Appreciated that. And it's finally, the final core value is teamwork. You build a great team with your wife, Elaine, and your son, David, in establishing a great legal practice that has helped our district. So on behalf of the school district, thank you for your years of service to our schools, our community, our parents, and our students. Can't thank you enough. You're the hero because you are a trusted friend and the best friend of our school district. Thank you very much for all you've done.
I really don't have anything to say because there's been enough exaggeration already. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I hope you keep on doing as well as you've done in the past. and I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Kingsley? We do have.
Something for you to hang on your wall.
Around over there.
We even got you laying some flowers.
Are we going to make him stay for the whole meeting?
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Next, I'd like to recognize Paul Shulo, the Minnesota Elementary School Principals Association 2015 Division Leadership Award. And here to introduce him is our Assistant Superintendent, Chris Lennox.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Superintendent Fujitaki, members of the board. Come on over, Paul. Tonight, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to recognize Principal Paul Shulo. Paul recently received the Minnesota Elementary School Principals Association, MESPA's Division Leadership Achievement Award. This leadership award honors principals whose exemplary leadership and sustained efforts have made noteworthy contributions to the operation of effective school learning programs by improving education, their communities, and the profession. One of Paul's MESPA colleagues had this to say about his leadership. He said, "Paul has faithfully served our division and all of MESPA for a number of years. He has provided time and leadership to the Winter Institute, facilitated many division meetings, as well as socials over the years." And if you know Paul, that's true. Among his most significant career accomplishments, Paul includes helping transform Hillcrest Community School into an artful learning school. That success became evident in 2014 when Hillcrest received legacy status. Under Paul's leadership, Hillcrest was also selected as a Sally Ordway Irvine Educational Award winner, an award that goes out to organizations that are impacting the lives through the arts. Paul himself summed up his success in educational philosophy in a quote by Nelson Mandela saying, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall." Paul, I'd like to congratulate you on this award. Nice job.
Thank you very much, everybody. Just want to thank the school board for allowing me to serve 14 years here in the Bloomington Public Schools. I am retiring in June. I look forward to lots of other things, but Bloomington will always be deep in my heart. And I learned another thing here. When Deb Bunkhold invites you to come to the school board meeting, you don't stand her up. So thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation and a resolution regarding Volunteer Recognition Month. Would someone like to make that resolution?
So moved. Second.
Okay, would you like to read the resolution?
go ahead. Read it.
Someone like to read the resolution?
All right.
Read the resolution.
You want the whole thing read, or?
Just the resolution, I'll read the proclamation.
All right.
That's it.
Be resolved, the School Board of Independent School District adopt the attached proclamation declaring April 2015 as Volunteer Recognition Month in the Bloomington Public Schools.
And who's our second? Tom was our second. Okay, I will read the proclamation. Whereas the care, commitment, and hard work of our world-class, diverse volunteers have made our schools more effective places in which to learn. And whereas volunteers have enriched and expanded the learning opportunities available to learners of all ages and abilities. And whereas volunteerism is a living lesson that embodies a spirit of giving and a spirit of lifelong learning. And whereas we wish to celebrate the many gifts of the thousands of volunteers contributing to the Bloomington Public Schools and our programs for children, youth, and adults. Now therefore, the School Board of Bloomington Public Schools does hereby proclaim April 2015 as Bloomington Public Schools Volunteer Recognition Month. If there's no discussion about this resolution, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And none opposed. Thank you. And now I will introduce Debbie Belfry, and I have the proclamation for you. And you want to do the PowerPoint first, and I'll give it to you in a minute.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Good evening to the school board and school board members, Superintendent Fujitaki. It's wonderful to be here. We usually make an appearance each April, and I'm here tonight representing our Volunteer Connection Program, birth to grade 12, and with me is...
I'm Gina Carpenter, and I'm representing our Metro South Adult Basic Education and Learning Exchange Volunteer Program, which serves the adult learners in our districts.
So we're going to give you a comprehensive view of all these wonderful volunteers that are here in our school district, and we're going to start, and Gina will start with her program.
Well, we are fortunate to work in a school district that supports two great volunteer programs, as we mentioned, a volunteer program for our adult learners and a volunteer program for our E12 learners. And I'm especially grateful that every year the school board and the administration continues to, support volunteers and community members coming into our schools. That's very important for members of the community to see what our students are actively engaging in every day. Okay. At Metro South, we have 190 volunteers supporting our adult learners in our English Second Language program, GED, Adult Diploma, our Career Prep classes at Normandale Community College, our Career Pathways classes, and our Learning Exchange classes, which are customized community education opportunities for adults with disabilities. And together, these 190 volunteers serve our 1,650 adult students. We know we have really great volunteers. All of our volunteers are wonderful that volunteer at Metro South, and it's nice to know that organizations outside of the school district also recognize our volunteers. These are 9 volunteers that have been recently recognized by the Minnesota Literacy Council. And together, these 9 volunteers have a combined service hours of 22,000 hours. So that is equivalent to at least full-time work, paid staff for 10 years. So that's a lot of hours that just these 9 volunteers have given to our adult students and program. We are again fortunate to have an employment navigator working with us this year through the Minnesota Opportunity Corps, which is an AmeriCorps program. Michael started in October, and he works with students in our Career Pathways classes, which include our Child Development Associate program, our Customer Service class, our Certified Nursing Assistant Prep program, Medical Terminology, Computer Skills, and Michael hosted an entrepreneurship series for our students who were interested in learning what they needed to do to become their own business owners. And so far, he has met with 126 of our students, 38 who are now employed, 12 who are volunteering to enhance their resume, and 2 who have enrolled in trainings. And he will continue to meet with students through the end of his service year, which will be the end of September. This year, the Normandale Center for Experiential Learning was awarded the Bloomington-Richville Community Education Services Partnership Award. This program has been working with Metro South in Learning Exchange for the past 9 years. Service learning students bring a new perspective to our volunteers in our program. Some of them are pretty short-term. They need to volunteer for 8 to 20 hours. But it's gratifying that a few stay on past their service commitment. And in fact, the young woman in the bottom right of the screen started with us in 2007. She graduated from Normandale Community College, and she continues to come back every year and volunteer with us. She's now a teacher in another district, and part of her career path changed when she volunteered with Learning Exchange. She started out as a communications major, and then she switched to become an education major. And a few of our Metro South students have come back to volunteer with us through service learning. They had such a great experience as students of Metro South and working with the volunteers that they came in contact with as students, that they wanted to give back in this way. So we are especially grateful to this program and the partnership that we have. We know that volunteers have many, many opportunities for how they choose to spend their time. And I speak for our program and Debbie and Sue's program, that we are just especially grateful that they choose to spend their time volunteering with us every year.
We also are looking tonight at all volunteers throughout the school district, and you can see that we have many volunteers that don't necessarily pass through our 2 offices, but students see their faces every single day, and they provide countless hours in our different school buildings. Tonight, the PTSA member had an emergency, and Dick Bergstrom's going to speak on behalf of PTSA members tonight.
Thank you. I know I could have spoken into the mic there, but this is where Karen Cook, who wanted to be here tonight, would have stood. So I know I'm not anywhere near as pleasant to look at as Karen, but she sent me a text 2 hours ago saying, "Call me right away. I need your help." And that's what volunteers do, so she knew that either I was the very last one on the list or she knew she could count on me, one or the other. Anyways, just want to say on behalf of the PTSA Council, thank you to all the volunteers that make Bloomington PTSA happen. If you're not familiar with what PTSA Council does, look on your school's website. You can scroll down and see who the members are for PTSA Council. They'll do things all the way from elementary carnivals that are coming up now. So if you have an elementary student, look to see if you have a carnival coming. They'll also do book drives, and they also make sure that our teachers during conferences have a nice warm meal and a quiet place to go. And those are just a few things that I hope will highlight what all the PTSA Council members do, what they organize, and then of course all the volunteers that make that council work. So thank you so much on behalf of Karen Cook and PTSA Council.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you doing that. Volunteers always find their own substitutes. They never let that place go empty when they've been assigned somewhere in the district. At this point in time, I'm going to invite Sue Martell and Mary Jo Bayless to go to the podium, and they are going to help in just a few minutes talk about and introduce some of our volunteers that are going to speak to us tonight. I do want to mention, though, I'm going to start by going off slides here. The Volunteer Connection is 20 years old this year. It's a program that's been in existence for 20 years. We have expanded greatly because we've included all of our early childhood programs as programs in the district that also use volunteers. And I also want to read, we're receiving an award on Thursday, Sue Martell and Terry Houts, who's sitting in the audience, our right hand clerical support for this program, and we appreciate that she's here tonight. But I just want to read what Volunteer Connection this year is being awarded. Each year, the Normandale's President and Center for Experiential Education select a civic engagement steward to be recognized at the Minnesota Campus Compact President's Awards. And this year, Volunteer Connection was selected to earn that award. We're the award recipient. The Minnesota Campus Compact is an organization that supports civic engagement through a network of colleges and universities. The President's Community Partner Award recognizes a community-based organization that has enhanced the quality of life in the community. And as Gina mentioned, the Volunteer Connection for Adults was honored and received that award. So we're very honored to have our partners that we work with who also recognize the importance of what we do in their college and university communities. But going on, you'll see that we, in the Volunteer Connection this year, have enrolled, and actually this went up in the last week, 694 volunteers that have supported our students in all of those programs. And we will also show how our colleges and universities also are our partners and send us volunteers our way, and as well as community members. These volunteers, up to this point this year, have supported us with 57,308 hours, sharing their time with Bloomington learners. Our volunteers provide after-school support, so not just support during the school day, but after-school support. We've had 81 volunteers assisting 133 students each week in our Homework Connection programs that are at 8 different sites throughout the different schools. And there are some of their fabulous pictures. You can read the names of those schools where we have volunteers helping our students in the afternoon 2 days a week at each site. We also have our Family Homework Connection program at Oxborough Library every Tuesday. And this year to date, we have 13 volunteers that work in that program in the evening. They have served 59 students, and those students came from 23 different schools. So not just our own students, but we're supporting and helping the community of learners in Bloomington and all those learners that stop at the Oxborough Library. Mary Jo and I both would like to greatly recognize our volunteers that we get from a variety of colleges and universities. This year, our program has been supported with students from 13 colleges and universities. 277 of those are Normandale students, so we have a great partnership there. 43 of those volunteers came from Minnesota State University, Mankato, and 41 students came from other colleges and universities. The wonderful thing for us is that oftentimes we have returning Bloomington students that come back to volunteer with us, and also to do some field service experience hours in the schools that they also were educated in. So it's fun to see returning students. We also are both served by a wide variety of community partners, and we just so appreciate working with all of these different groups within Bloomington, nonprofit organizations, business partners, faith communities, and countless, as you've heard, community partners.
I think that the value for community partnerships that we have, it really provides our students with an opportunity to meet new members of the community. And as I mentioned previously, it brings members of the community into our schools to stay engaged and connected with our education program.
So together, staff, volunteers, and community partners continue to make a difference in all the lives of our students. There are very few of our students that are not touched by volunteers in our organization. And with that, I am going to turn the program, oops, one more thing?
One more
Sure.
thing. I just wanted to add, President Obama wrote a proclamation for Volunteer Week this week, and I think part of what he said really sums up the value of what volunteers bring to our program and how meaningful their volunteer service is. By performing acts of service, we can shape a nation big enough and bold enough to accommodate the hopes of all people. Across our country, volunteers open doors of opportunity, pave avenues of success, fortify their communities, and lay the foundation for tomorrow's growth and prosperity. So our volunteers really do have an impact on the lives of all of our learners. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will turn it over to Sue Martell, who works with the Volunteer Connection Office.
That is a wonderful quote. It certainly is exactly what they do. My name again is Sue Martell with the Volunteer Connection, and I get the wonderful opportunity to get to meet all of these volunteers and try very hard to find them a setting which is something they would like to do, and also our staff requests volunteer help for their students. And like I say every year, I'm the connector, which is super easy, because without the volunteers, I wouldn't have a job. And I've been very fortunate to be able to do this for a long time and watch our children learn and develop these partnerships. There is, as we've talked about, the PTSA has a representative and all the wonderful things that they do. We also have someone here that represents the wonderful people that serve our lunch. And if you wouldn't mind coming up for a quick moment. We know we all like to eat, and we can't do it without you. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
My name is Michelle Myron. I have 2 students at Ridgeview, one in 2nd grade and one in kindergarten. And it is my honor and pleasure to be able to work with the students and serve lunch and volunteer in any way possible that I can help our educators make their day even better. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce my person, which is someone that we had placed through the Volunteer Connection. His name is Thomas Misson. Thomas is a dedicated Normandale College student, has been volunteering since 2013, and in that time, he has volunteered over 281 hours. Now, if you look around this room, Thomas is not here because he was at the Homework Connection, as he always is on Monday and Wednesday, and he got really sick. And one of the reasons I even chose him is because he is the most dedicated Normandale students I've ever had. I was really good. I could see him walking in, dragging himself just to come here. But I wanted him to come here because he is just the example of one of these 277 Normandale students. This partnership with Normandale is so valuable to us. We would not have our Homework Connection programs without Normandale students. They put so many hours in, and to watch the difference that they make in the students that they work with, because I want to tell you, these students would much prefer to work with the cool college kids than any of us. They have got cool points beyond anything we can have, but it's very fun that I've observed. These students are in college. They're on their journey, figuring out what they want to be, to watch them grow at the same time. It is such a wonderful thing, and we have many volunteers at the Homework Connection, for example, that are senior citizens. So in the room, you have all these groups of people all working together to support our students' learning, and the students love coming there. And so I wish Tom was here to talk to us and from his perspective, but I just want to tell you that he is just a wonderful young man, and as he represents all the volunteers that we place at the Volunteer Connection, it is just really a very rewarding job to live in Bloomington, to meet my neighbors, to say, do you want to help? And they want to help, and they keep coming. As Terry said, she thought, geez, isn't it a time when nobody calls anymore? They keep coming. They just do, and it's just the most wonderful thing. So thank you for taking this time to recognize these people, because our community really does care about our students, and it does make a huge difference. So, Mary Jo, it's up to you.
Hi, again, I'm Mary Jo Bayless, and I work with Gina at Metro South, and I help coordinate the volunteers who work with our adults learning English or working on their GED or adult diploma. And it's my pleasure to introduce one of our volunteers tonight, and I'll just tell you just 2 things about him. His name is Tom Mao, and 2 things that kind of tell you how dedicated he is. The first one is we have a student who's been trying to get her driver's permit, a woman in our ESL classes. And I'm happy to say that last week, because of Tom's help for just a couple of sessions in homework lab, she, on her 9th try, got her driver's permit. Talk about dedication on both their parts. And another instance is that recently, to go with the driver's ed theme, we had another group of students who said, is there anybody here who can tutor other adults who are in school here who'd like to get their driver's permit? And it wasn't 2 days later that Tom came up to me and asked if he could add another day to his volunteer schedule where he works in the homework lab on one day. And I said, well, guess what? I just got a request from some students. How do you feel about driver's ed? And he said, I'm in, let's do it. And I love it when that happens. And so I'd like to introduce to you Tom Mao.
Thanks, Mary Jo. I should clarify that I didn't meet her until after the 8th attempt. As has already been pointed out, the distinctive of adult basic ed is we get to work with adults. And I am working with folks from East and West Africa, East and West Asia, Central and South America, and it is just a privilege. My wife and I have been homeowners in the city of Bloomington for 29 years, so I obviously represent a certain stable demographic that exists in our community, and yet it's an absolute joy to embrace the newer demographic that is coming to our community and will continue to come for many years to come. The majority of those that I work with are adult immigrant students. I work with spouses, parents, grandparents, all generations, and all levels of learners, because the homework lab brings them from all different levels, even though the driver's ed tutoring requires a certain command of the English language. And some of them have stories, life stories and journeys that are absolutely overwhelming. They have overcome insurmountable odds to be here in our communities. Some of them are continuing to face very challenging circumstances. The young lady that took so many attempts, I don't know the story, but I do know that she had a head injury in high school that interrupted her education for quite some time. And so her victory is one truly to be celebrated. I'd like to just say that there are a number of wonderful educational objectives that are being met every day. There are those that they understand clearly that they need a command of the English language to seek employment in the community, and so they're motivated in that regard. There's many that also want to go on to further education. I'll be taking one student tomorrow to an open house at St. Catherine's for associate's degree in medical, and she's an aspiring ultrasound tech or sonographer, as they say. And so there's a lot of educational objectives that are being met every day, hour after hour, by the highly dedicated both teachers and volunteers there. The other objective that I personally see being met is what I'm going to call a community development objective. I see each of these wonderful human beings as having a very unique contribution to offer to our communities. And what we essentially do is tease out their ability to make that contribution by giving them the comprehensive skills that they acquire in adult basic education. And that's as much of a motivator for me as the specifically educational objectives. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the volunteers tonight. I thank you for the dedication of the school board, a high bar of commitment that you have to our school system. I live across the street from Westwood Elementary, and so I get to see the vitality of that every day, and I'm very grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie, and your team, and to all the volunteers that help us here in Bloomington. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time tonight and for your commitment to making and developing a climate of volunteers and people being welcome to come into our buildings. And as has been said, for our staff who also welcome these people of all ages to come into their classrooms to assist our learners. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone who wishes to address the school board on an item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, come forward, we'll move on. Would someone like to move Part A of the agenda? Pardon me? I don't think we have any. I don't, I know we.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Part A includes our personnel items, classified personnel, and field trips, grants, and contracts. All in favor of Part A, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you. It brings us to Part B, and that first on the agenda is the QComp progress report. And I'm going to invite our Assistant Superintendent, Chris Lennox, and Kelly Spees to come forward, and her guests.
And our guests, and our team. Oh.
Make sure you get a comfy chair.
Thank you very much, board members, Chairman Barbalata, our cabinet, for having us here tonight. It's my pleasure to talk to you again this year about our quality compensation program, or I think more accurately at this point, it's our teacher evaluation program for our district. We are finishing our third year of implementation. I was told at the Department of Education in year 2 that it takes 3 years. I kept saying, no, we're there, we're there. They go, no, it's a 3-year implementation cycle. So I am very happy to say that we are getting ready to complete that third year of implementation. I'd like to introduce the coaches who are with me tonight. We are part of the original team. We have Ashley Mudrow, and we have David Carberry, and we have Pam Ludvigsen with us tonight. So you get to ask them questions, not just me today. Just to remind you that this is a voluntary agreement between our BFT and the Bloomington Public Schools. We review the MOU annually and make updates based on changes that need to be made. And we have a governing board that oversees the program. We meet monthly to deal with how to enhance the program and any concerns that may occur. The components of QComp are, number one, it's the teacher observation evaluation portion. The second part is the job embedded professional development, or our PLCs. And then another big part of it is goal setting, and then our teacher leadership opportunities that we provide for those of us that are classroom teachers and have had an opportunity to step out of the classroom for a term to work with our colleagues and to work at the district level. We collect a lot of data throughout the year. One of the things that I talked to you about last year is that we know that to continuously improve any kind of program, that you have to use ongoing data sources to inform the work that you do. This year, we focused a lot on the student engagement part of the teacher evaluation law, and all of the coaches have been collecting student engagement data from each of the teachers that they work with. The Federation of Teachers does a survey each spring to make sure that teachers are satisfied and that we want to continue this agreement. We have a site review that is required by the Department of Education. They set up a rubric and indicators of performance, and we go out to different sites. We rotate the sites each year. This year we went to 2 elementaries, 1 middle school, and 1 high school to do interviews. We visit PLC meetings, and then we have this team of teachers discuss the results. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. And then we do a PLC facilitator survey to inform that job-embedded professional development as well. So I first want to talk about the teacher observation and evaluation. And again, you can see that the data is collected from several different sources on this process. One of the things that we're really proud of in this third year of implementation is now teachers are able to tie the improved teaching to student achievement measures. We haven't in the past 2 years been able to collect data that teachers have actually stated that there is a result, but this year teachers are saying that they can see that the improved teaching, improved instruction is actually being tied to their student achievement measures. They also get written feedback, and this feedback informs instruction. We get to meet with teachers for 3 times over the course of the year, and it's just one kind of, well, it's 3 meetings in one, but really it's an isolated event. That written feedback is a way to continue the growth, to remind teachers of the things that they're working on to improve student achievement. We also started to provide this year some additional strategies outside the evaluation time. In some forms, at some buildings, it's getting that strategy in their teacher conference or via email. But a lot of times, it's supporting the strategies that the building has focused on to improve that student achievement. We've really made a lot of growth in the work of our PLCs. And this is another area that I think that we can see over time. The processes that we put into place through QComp have really started to gain some really good results for teachers in the classroom. These are the things that the PLC facilitators have reported that they're doing as a part of the PLC. The teachers are collaborating in a way that they haven't collaborated before. Thanks to all of you, we've given the time last year that was put into their day. And that time has allowed them the luxury of working together in a collaborative way as a part of their day, not something that they have to do before school or after school. They're sharing data, they have common grading, they're developing work on the standards. They're a real positive environment for discussions and those courageous conversations that sometimes you need to have about student achievement. They're also planning for reteaching. We know how important that is for our students who just need another little boost to learn the material. They're developing those enrichment lessons together for those students who already understand the material. They're creating differentiated lessons, so they're not wasting time in the classroom focusing on one group when they could be meeting the needs of many groups at one time. They're reviewing that formative and summative data and other student work on a regular basis. The teachers are a part of a 3-year professional growth plan. The way the evaluation is set up is the teacher selects a different component each year, a different domain, which has different components, I should say, and they work on those in a rotating 3-year rotation. This allows teachers to focus more keenly on one area that they want to develop, but also not stay in that spot, and to have a very comprehensive 3-year look of how they're meeting the needs of students through their instruction. Their individual goals and their PLC goals are also, we're finding, a part of that cycle. They're using the data over time now to inform better goal setting that is honing in on how to make improvements that students need. The goal setting has been an area that we have focused on as a coaching team to support for teachers. It was very difficult in the beginning for teachers to even know how to set a goal. And then, how do you set a goal that you revisit on a regular basis? Not a goal that just sits there until the end of the year to see if you've achieved it. So in working with Dave Heisted and looking at different data sources, working as a coaching team to encourage teachers to use many types of formative assessments along the way to inform their practice. You can see by looking at that, these are just some of the things that teachers use to inform their work along the way. They don't let students just sit in the classroom for 3 or 4 weeks without assessing how they're doing on the material that's being taught. The site review is an opportunity for the Department of Education to give a more comprehensive look at what's happening in the district to make sure that we're following the agreement as we set forth. And we're very proud this year, too. They have a level basic and a level proficient and a level exemplary. And in some cases, we don't aspire to be exemplary because it may be the nature of timing or just a practice in Bloomington that we feel very good about. But in some areas, which was a big improvement this year, we did make exemplary, and I wanted to highlight those for you tonight. The teachers are really aware of the roles, both their PLC facilitator roles and our roles as coaches. They know what the expectations are. It is a very clear process. I remember getting the question from the board in the first year, is it open to everyone? Well, we have evidence now that teachers know and are aware that these positions are open for them, and that they can have the opportunity to do it in the future as well. We're also seeing, again, just to reiterate, that they're linking the PLC goals to student achievement. They're seeing that the work that they're doing, the goals that they're setting, are now really moving the needle in student achievement. The implementation of the new classroom strategies has improved student achievement, and this is based on the evaluation process. Teachers are able to reflect on their practice, to analyze the strategies that they use in the classroom, and make adjustments based on the data that we collect about what's happening in the room. We also received an exemplary for the support and the ongoing connections to our PLCs. We work very closely with PLCs. We work closely with the facilitators. We go to their meetings as needed. We provide training on a regular basis as well as needed. And then we also are able to differentiate the needs of the teacher through our coaching. Because we're getting to know the teachers well, we have the process firmly established, we're able to get deeper now into what teachers need to really improve, and we're able to have those conversations and to set up plans for teachers based on this process. So the teacher evaluation law changes. Currently, we will have no major changes to our plan for next year. We're keeping our fingers crossed that the funding sources also will be intact. We do not have any kind of indication as of yet that there would be any major changes. The only change that we see in the House and Senate funding bill is a phase-in for those districts that are not participating in QComp, because there are a lot of districts all around the state that don't get the funds that we have to do the kind of work that we do. And what the legislature is looking at doing is providing the same kind of funding that we receive, but over time. We're constantly setting new goals for ourselves, as well as the teachers setting goals. We set goals as a QComp coaching team. Last year, we wanted to continue to support that work of the PLC through a differentiated training and then linking the evaluation work to the PLC. And we do have evidence that that's happening, that teachers are taking the ideas from their lessons and they're bringing them to the PLCs and sharing them with their colleagues. We also wanted to create those better models for goal setting and for creating those action plans. And the action plans are really developing those formative assessments to assess how students are doing along the way. For next year, we want to continue to support teachers through the evaluation and coaching. We have established just a great way to connect with our staff, and we want to continue to do that. We want to continue to work on the engagement strategies. This year, we've been focused on getting teachers to acknowledge the engagement strategies that they use. Many teachers don't even know what they're doing to get the students engaged. So to get them to be able to articulate what they do to actually help the students connect more with their content and with the skills that they need to grow. And so we want to expand that next year. We want to give teachers more engagement tools, and we want to also give them the ability to share those tools with their colleagues. And we want to continue to give those resources and that instructional support for PLCs. We want to focus on guiding the development of rubrics and assessments so that teachers can continue to get those formative measures. So I'm going to open it up to questions for myself or for the coaching team here.
Madam Chair. First of all, thank you for coming, Kelly, Pam, David, and Ashley. I'll give you an easy one to start with. So if other teachers come up to you and they say, you know, this looks interesting what you're doing, and I'm interested in doing that, what do I need to know? Or something like that. What would your response be?
This came up recently. A colleague asked me just that question, and what would be reasonable for the candidate to know is that we work with a cognitive coaching model. So that's one aspect of our work. So we work with faculty to get them where they need to go. Kelly mentioned staff or embedded professional development. A coaching model allows for that to be happening on site. The second thing they need to know is something about Charlotte Danielson's rubrics, Charlotte Danielson's frameworks of teaching, and various other frameworks. And third, my colleague did some shadowing with me, so she got a chance to look at the nature of the work. So the models paired with an opportunity to do some shadowing are all reasonable things to aspects or strategies to move forward.
Great, thank you. If anyone else wants to chime in, go ahead.
Actually, just today, people are starting to really consider the coaching positions when they think about their career. Today, I had a teacher say, you know, for 5 years I want to work with this program that I've just started to work with. Then I think I'd like to take a look at coaching and then go back to a different classroom setting. So as teachers are thinking in terms of the next 15 years of their career, they might not think I want to do it next year, but they're thinking about when in that period of 15, 20 years would be a good time to take a step out of the classroom and take a leadership role. And I think that's been a real development this year compared to the first couple years that we implemented.
Another thing we do is we've been able to provide the cognitive coaching training right here in Bloomington, as well as the Danielson training. And we always invite teachers to attend that training. And they have to get funding for their substitute teachers through their building, but we pick up the cost of the training. So we continue to build our capacity with trained teachers in the district.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here today and for the wonderful job that you do, and thank you to all the teachers in the district for the wonderful job that all of you are doing, and for bringing this update again tonight. I wanted to ask, so if teachers can choose to be part of QCOM, what is the percentage of teachers that we have right now in Bloomington doing opting for QCOM?
It's just about 100%. The only teachers that really opt out are teachers that are usually underneath a 0.3,
okay,
and they just can't, with their schedule, fit in the PLC meetings. Yeah, so we really have, I can't think of anybody this year. We've had 2 people, maybe 1 this year. We had 2 people in years prior just because they couldn't fit in the time, but they really wanted to be a part of it.
Okay.
Kelly, may I add to that too?
Yeah.
One other piece that's a nice option for teachers that are part-time is that they can enroll at the full-time level. And I work at Valley View Elementary and Valley View Middle are my 2 main buildings, and all of my part-time staff have decided to enroll at full-time. So they've committed beyond what their FTE is exactly at. So I think that's a neat complement to the collaboration that they have with their colleagues as well.
Okay. Another question regarding the PLCs. I remember that last year that was one of the challenges, right, that you had, that was finding the time. And now that like you just mentioned, that it's not a problem anymore, right? What are the differences that you see, or do you see any type of different challenges from building to building, meaning more specifically, elementary school, middle school, high school?
Well, the challenge that we had last year was definitely elementary, because the high schools were able to adjust their day and have the release time for the PLCs. A lot of the special education groups had challenges with it. Designating a day has helped. We still have some special ed teachers that work across the district that it's still a challenge for, but it's a lot less than it was before. And then at our middle level, they also have the time built within their day. So really the challenges were more at elementary.
More elementary. So that's not an issue anymore?
No.
Okay. When you talk about measuring student achievement, that you were talking about, have you seen the needle moving, right? Coming up now. Can you kind of give us a little more can you tell us a little more so that we can understand it better of how you're measuring that type of achievement, that it's not only based on testing or the data itself, but are there any other components to that you can actually say, yeah, they are growing?
I'll start, but I'll let the coaches address that as well. What we're seeing is teachers are developing more formative assessments, so they're getting indicators in a shorter interval that's informing their instruction. And those assessments are allowing them to do reteaching and enrichment because they have more indicators of where the students are. So they're still using a test or a quiz or an exit slip or an observation rubric, but they're doing it in a more regular way, and teachers are reporting to us. This is the teachers telling us. We've really had the idea that it was making improvements because we see the growth in teachers as we work with them and coaches. But this is the first year that teachers have been saying that to us, that they can really see that difference. But I'll let coaches address that too.
We were really careful when we created the QComp document to allow teachers to use the assessments that they use in their classroom. The QComp goal system is a structure that includes district, building, or site, PLC, and individual goals. So obviously, as you get at that more of the district and building level, you're using more standardized test data. That's an option that's available to teachers, but when you get down to the classroom level, it's more relevant to use the data that they use with their students every day in the classroom. So they're able to use their own data from their own students in order to measure the growth that they see in their classroom specifically. So it directly relates the data with the instructional practices.
What I liked about your question, Ellie, is that this is worrisome to me that we only measure children through these metrics. So here's an example. Most recently, as of yesterday, I was at a poetry slam at Jefferson, and afterwards, 2 faculty members asked that I do a short focus group with 6 ninth graders, and asking them what was effective instruction, what were the indicators that things were going well, what did you see that made you, what worked. So we can collect soft data in focus groups. Ashley does some work with visuals, pictures. I've taken movies of different faculty members in DCD classrooms. So the data, per Pam's comment, is beyond simply MCA data, which is very hard to move, and more, it's broader and more genuine at times.
Okay. So the teacher is using data from their students and their student achievement, but they're also getting data from their own teaching experience based on the evaluations that we do.
All right. I do have another couple of questions. Okay. Does QComp have any added components that are related to cultural competency in the classroom, and kind of attaching that a little bit with student achievement, when you look at the different groups in terms of demographics, are you able to kind of identify who might be performing better now, or, do you know what I mean? Like, when you relate it to student achievement, are we seeing any differences in certain students at risk? Or is that a question that I need to ask Mr. Heist?
Well, I think, the focus of QComp has been on all teachers, all students, all the time. And so, we don't break out those groups to analyze data, and we haven't specifically asked about any group. We do address the needs of specific students as they come up for teachers, in terms of a lot of times data that we collect will be on a student that teachers, will say to us are just not achieving like they should, or can you help me to analyze what's happening with that student? But no, we haven't gotten to the point where we're analyzing. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I'll let David address, because we do have some, groups that...
Jefferson High School has some PLCs that look at specific populations of underperforming kids, make predictions as to where they might be, and then they've addressed various interventions to make it more likely they succeed. So, for example, most recently, I think in the biology department, is revisiting evolutionary theory over time. And I think chemistry's got some other strategies having to do with various other interventions. So it may not be happening as we collect our data, but it is happening within PLCs per their interest. And the other thing, the Danielson rubric also has a component that features cultural understanding as well. So it is part of our conversations, I know, in instruction, and I suspect in Domain 1 in planning, but I can't remember. Maybe Ashley does.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I asked that is because as we're looking at the needs of the students, that we also need to look at the needs of the teachers as they are there in the classroom facing all those challenges that have to do with culture, differences in culture and ethnicities. And my last question is then, what are the challenges, besides funding, and the challenges more at this internal level in district?
Yeah, the challenges, they seem so small compared to so many other things in education. Our challenges as a coaching team is to, are to continue to challenge teachers to get deeper and to get to that higher level every year. And that requires a lot of very concentrated work as a team to set our own goals, and then to set up training to support those goals so that we can support the teachers. Tomorrow we're attending a training, Yvette Jackson, and it's just an example of an area that we want to build our skills as a coaching team in meeting the needs of teachers. And so that training really helps us to do that. So it is a challenge to continue to get better, to move that needle, because it does take it takes a lot of things to come together to move it in that way. A good challenge that we have is that we do have term limits, and we have new coaches that come in all the time. As difficult as it is to see our colleagues move on, because we develop a very close relationship together, it's great to have new ideas and new people a part of the mix. So it's a good kind of challenge, but that is also, how do you, when, we've been working together now for over 3 years in putting together this program, and how do you bring a new person in and help them to feel a part of the team and included? And it's something we challenge ourselves with on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
Any other challenges that you see?
I think the only other challenge is now that we're in year 3, how do we continue with a program that's been in place now for 3 years? How do we continue to make the process meaningful for teachers? And Kelly mentioned that through our trainings, through our work, how can we be the best that we can be to serve the needs of our teachers so that they can see that growth in themselves and in the students in the years to come?
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for your hard work and the hard work of our teachers too. Thank you.
Jim,
Oh,
I use my time to
Hopefully, I won't need that much.
pick it up later.
One just question I had was, is there significance to year 3? Like, this is a 3-year process and now it's considered implemented, or is it like, okay, now we're in year 5 of our implementation and year 7 of our implementation as time goes on? Or is it a cycle where now you start over and you...
We don't start over, we continue to grow. So there is a significance in that. There have been other districts that have abandoned this before they got through the 3rd year. And for us to get all the way through, and teachers have now had each of the domains, because we keep track and they select a different domain. There is a significance that way, because I think it's an opportunity for teachers to look back onto the 3 years and all those indicators of what they've done in the classroom. But in terms of any bells or whistles or huge changes, no.
Well, so like in year 4, you said that they went through all 3 domains, so now would you start over?
Yes.
With maybe the first one that they did in year 4?
They can.
And then, I guess the question for, relating to us and the job that we have to do, are there challenges, issues, as far as board policy or decisions that are affecting positively or negatively for you? Or is there anything specific that you'd like to see us do?
Well, thank you for that. I feel very honored to work in a district that has embraced the program like they have. From every department, from the business office to special education, every member of the cabinet has embraced this program from the very beginning. The relationships we've built, the common understanding that we have throughout the district is, I'm just really feel that it sets Bloomington apart in many ways because of how this has come forward. I work with other districts all the time and try to, help them put together a very similar kind of program that we have here. And, they are often up against, resistance from groups that don't allow them to have that open collaboration. And I have not had that at all. So I would say the best board policy is to consider that open environment, that collaborative environment, that environment of continuous growth that we want to have throughout the district. And the more you live that through the decisions you make, the more it will trickle down to everyone. There are no bad mistakes, only mistakes that you can learn from. And the progress that we make will change each year. And it'll be about understanding and going a different direction if the change is not positive. So I think creating that kind of culture throughout the district is really the best thing that you can do to help us. Are there any other policies in place that I'm not aware of that are holding us back?
I mean, that sounds really nice.
Yeah.
No, I always ask, or I like to ask that question because I had a teacher of mine midway through, because we had to do our official review of his class at the end of the year, but halfway through, he'd always give us an evaluation, say, fill this out, and don't write anything nice on it because I can't grow if you just tell me that I'm great. So I always want to know, okay, what are we doing wrong that, or maybe not wrong, but what would you like to see different? But
Well, I'm going to really pay attention to that in this next year, and I'll have an answer for you in some way for next year.
Thank you.
But yeah, and just so you know, I have been known to be the cup runneth over instead of just the cup half full, but I would not hesitate and have not hesitated to tell anyone when there are problems and when there are things that need to be addressed.
Okay.
And you can look over at the cabinet, and I'm sure they can all give you a nod, because I do not hesitate. So even though I report good things, I think it is because I have that ability to be direct when I need to be and to address those things. And we all as coaches do that with teachers as well. I mean, when we see things that need to be corrected, we do it in an environment of support. But because we've created that environment, we can have those conversations and we can address that.
All right, well, thank you.
Jim?
I guess that last statement, creating a positive environment for courageous conversations, works all the way around. And we can certainly appreciate why you're on the state education task force with all of your impressive goals, and I suspect it was the team that put all of these together because of just the language and all the education-ese that's used in here is really impressive. It's going to take me a couple of weeks to figure out exactly what it all meant. One of the questions and this has been a long process for years that it's taken to develop to this point, and so we're grateful for all of the work that's gone into it, because it hasn't been easy. But now we're to that point. So the teachers who are coaches now, are y'all going to go back into teaching again? Or are you going to be assistant coaches? Or how are you going to utilize the leadership and management skills that have come through these 3 years with the teams?
I think it'll be interesting to see as we have these coaches go back into the buildings and the classrooms, bringing the experiences that they've gained from being around the district, working in many different sites with many different people and many different groups of students. And I think that they will continue to grow in their leadership skills and abilities as they go back to their sites, and they're going to bring a robustness to whatever work environment they go back to that they will have gained from the experience that they have as a coach.
I mean, are you three going back into the classroom?
Yes, eventually.
Or put your name on a list for aspiring higher up?
To answer your question in a small way instead of a big way, I'm thinking a lot about formative assessment, given all the excellent work I view. So when I go back to working for a living, I will have an opportunity to look for evidence that the kids know what I want them to know, because I think that's a big change in the last 3 or 4 years, is evidence of understanding. And what do you do if, what plans do I have in place? That's one personal idea.
And Ashley?
It's a good question. No, that's fine. I feel very fortunate. I've talked to so many people about within Bloomington the opportunities that have been presented. And I taught 6th grade. I was Dean of Students at Oak Grove Middle School, and then this role was presented as well. And so in talking with my husband, I just have said so many times that how lucky can a person be to say, who knows what other opportunities may be available as well. And to know that the classroom is always there is a wonderful place to go, and every position that we've had is so student-centered. So I'm not limiting myself to say that the classroom is necessarily where I'm going to directly go, but I would be happy to go there, but also considering what other possibilities may be available in the district too.
And we appreciate all of that because, as David said, taking this back into the sites wherever you go with your colleagues who have seen you in this regard and still hopefully respect you in these regards, and you work with them and others will step up too, then this culture will become more prevalent. And with all of the data that we have from Dr. Heisted, and so forth like that, that we can use it in the different learning styles, it can't help but become a better place.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just a quick clarifying question. You had said that you guys have term limits. So how long is a term and how many terms can you serve?
We have a 3 to 5 year term, but we also have the stipulation that you can hold your current position for 2 years. So many teachers will opt to go back to the classroom after 2 years because they want to go back to the position that they left. After 2 years, you have to give up the position in that building or at that site, and then you will take whatever open position there is.
Okay, so of your current existing coaches, how many new ones will be starting next year?
We have 3 new coaches starting next year.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to add on to that, what's the total you will have when you have the 3 new ones next year? How many will you have total?
We'll have 11 altogether, which is great. We have anywhere from 75 to 85 teachers per coach.
Anyone else?
All in the same grade level areas? Or do you switch go
variety.
from high
They
school
switch.
to middle school to elementary school and so forth?
Yeah.
Just one small note. We work with all faculty, early childhood faculty, social workers, and therapists, and all certified faculty. So I just don't want to, I want that to be clear. So it's not, it's more like and even some post-secondary kids, or young men and women. So it's from 3 to 21.
And adults too in the South Metro program.
Well, thank you for your report tonight.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for your work.
Brings us to Part B, number 2. Authorized representative for the Minnesota Department of Education External Users Access Recertification System. Go ahead.
Madam Chair? Be resolved, the School Board of Independent School District 271 designates Dave Heisted, Executive Director of Research, Evaluation, and Assessment, as the identified official with authority with the Minnesota Department of Education for the External User Access Recertification System, with authority to assign job duties and authorize external user access for MDE secure systems for Independent School District 271, Bloomington Public Schools.
Second.
Thank you. We look to you, it says, for,
Try to explain this. Prior to April 1st, 2015, the MD required to access their secure data sites. And the MD has a number of secure data sites for testing and for other information. Individual authorization forms were needed to be granted by the superintendent, whoever was going to be given. And there are a number of websites, data sites. In response to this process, this individual authorization process took so much time and so much paperwork that the MD changed the system whereby it's just one time, and they were asking the school boards to approve or designate an individual to access these data sites. And what we've identified is Dr. Heisted to be the one that can access these secure data sites. And that's what this resolution is all about. Make it official, so he's authorized to access these secure data sites. That's it.
okay, thank you. Anyone have a question for the superintendent? Hearing none, all in favor of this resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That resolution carries. Thank you. Next, we have a bid award regarding the Activity Center's weight room athletic equipment replacement. Would someone like to move that resolution?
I can. Be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 271 approve a bid from Second Wind Exercise, Inc. for replacing athletic equipment for the weight rooms at Jefferson and Kennedy High School Activity Centers at a total cost of $98,378.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Go ahead. Our Director of Finance is here to respond to any questions or give a statement.
Chair Barlotta, Superintendent Fujitaki, board members. What this is a bid that was done with the partnership of both community education, the athletic directors, and also the high school principals to upgrade the equipment that's in the 2 activity centers' weight rooms. It's, as you see in the background of the information, it's a phased approach that the 3 are combining their resources to be able to complete this over a 3-year period of time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Is this, so we pay them over a 3-year period of time, or is this reflected in this current budget? So it's like a $98,000 over 3 years. So we pay them now and then we get the stuff over 3 years, or is it?
No, this is just the first phase of the pieces.
Okay, so this one, so this 98,000 is just for the first phase? Okay.
Like I mentioned, it's coming out of their 3 different pots of money.
Sure.
Tom?
So it says here that the equipment is over 13 years old. Is it in bad repair, the equipment?
It's equipment that, basically with the usage and with our activity center of using it for the purpose of people using it as a training center, we just want to make sure that the equipment is updated to the standards that need it to be.
And so we're buying equipment from Second Wind Exercise, so is it new equipment, or are we
Yes,
buying used equipment?
New equipment.
Okay, because they sell used equipment as well, don't? So
Correct.
are we selling our old equipment to them, or getting any credit for that or anything?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that.
Who knows?
Why buy new when slightly used will do, except when the deals are this good? Right? So there you go.
Someone's seen the commercial. So do you know what we're doing with our current equipment? Or are we just going to add to it so we have more?
No, we're not adding to it. We're actually getting rid of it, and I would imagine that because it's 13 years old, the usage of it is not, it's more of trashing it, I guess, or disposing of it.
Okay.
It looks like.
But I can check into that
Okay.
from the Doug Langfell to check
It's
into
like
it.
a Nautilus machine, 13 years old, should still be good, I would think. Or some dumbbells. I mean, they're not going to.
Well, maybe you should go over there and offer
Maybe I
them
should
some
go
money.
over there and check it out.
It says it includes trade-in and removal of old stuff, so.
Okay.
I was going to say, it's almost would be worthwhile to put it on eBay or something like that, or just put a note out for people here, hey, do you want some used equipment for your garage or something like that, too? I'd be interested in that.
We don't want to put it on
Somebody
curbside
gets
cleanup,
hurt.
though.
I don't think our lawyer would.
No,
Somebody gets hurt.
I don't think Mr. Holman would want us to do it that way.
What's the matter with that, David?
It's going to be our fault.
Isn't it buyer beware?
Sounds like full employment to me.
Is full employment.
Yourself and
All right, if there's no further discussion, please signify approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you. Okay, next we have authorization for the 2015-16 General Capital Projects Levy and Community Service Funds early expenditures. Would someone like to move that resolution?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Be resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 271 authorizes administration to begin purchasing items needed for the 2015-2016 school year. These purchases will not exceed 5% of the 2014-2015 general capital projects levy and community service budgets.
Second.
Thank you. Our finance director is still here to tell us a little background on this.
This is a resolution that is brought to the board every year. What it does is it allows departments that need lead time on purchases for the next school year to be able to have that ability to start doing purchases in May and June for next year's budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this? Hearing none. All in favor of this resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to board member reports. You can always look to Dick.
All right, well, I don't mind going first. All right, had the honor of attending, along with my fellow board members, the 25th Annual Senior Achievement Awards Banquet. Was just this last Tuesday, April 7th. There are 5 different categories of awards given out. Academic excellence, that's the top 10%. Artistic excellence, curricular excellence, leadership, and volunteerism. And it's always a wonderful evening to get there a little bit early. Some of the folks come and get a good seat, and I have an opportunity to sit and talk with them. And it was nice to ask the students what award they were being honored for. And I happened to sit at the table where there were a number of them were leadership and volunteerism, and I asked them if they knew, did you ever think anyone would recognize you for being a volunteer? And every single one of them I asked that said, well, I don't do it for the recognition. So at least we've got it, got the kids' head screwed on straight there. I also managed to attend the PTSA council meeting. Don was there, and I'll let you go into a little bit more detail. I visited, had an opportunity to visit Kelly Yackel's AP art class. It was 5th hour at Kennedy just Friday. And I just want to say thank you to her for letting me sit in and just sort of watch and see how that magic happens. I know there's a art display. It's over at the City Hall. It'll be up on, I think it's on the second floor. Anyways, it's running for a week, at least a week. So if you want an opportunity to get over and see some really quality art projects and some really interesting things, head on over there. Just this last Saturday, I attended the MSB workshop on building a high-performance school board. There were 33 people in the room, 7 round tables, and it made for a great conversation. A lot of good quality conversation. We closed the doors, a lot of laughing. I like that venue. It was a small and intimate venue, and got a lot of interesting stories out of that. The Youth Advisory Council met tonight over at our VEEP headquarters here in Lindale, behind Wendy's and White Castle, and a few of our Youth Advisory Council members were able to meet over there, and we had a tour, and just, found out and reaffirmed all the good things that the volunteers in our community do. VEEP has 1,700 volunteers. They have 20 paid employees. I don't know if they were full-time all, but certainly the community wouldn't be the same that it is without all our volunteers. So it's fitting that we had our volunteer recognition tonight, and we're reminded of all the quality volunteers over at VEEP earlier this afternoon. One other thing, normally I don't sort of give heads up. We end up reporting on what has happened, but I'm excited to go to this Friday down at the Government Center. Our 2 elementary Dimensions programs are going to do mock trials, and they're going to argue the relevancy of whether or not the big bad wolf actually did huff and puff and blow the house down. I was fortunate to go last year, and it was amazing, and I was able to be a fly on the wall in the corner, and I'm really looking forward to going again this Friday. So I hope to report some fun things going on at the next board meeting. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I was going to also mention at the Youth Advisory Committee meeting today over at VEEP, the students were coming up with, or were discussing some of the ideas that they had to help motivate the students to reach their goal, achieve the goals. And they had mentioned taping principles to the wall, to the flagpoles, and pie in face as some options. And so just giving a warning to the principals in the buildings that these may be coming to you from your students, but it's all meant in love. And I was thinking, maybe we could even set a goal for our own superintendent over here. Maybe we could say if we achieve our goal, he'd wear jeans to a meeting, because I know that would make him feel extremely uncomfortable. But maybe we can discuss in our next meeting.
Workshop. Yeah. Anyone else?
I can go.
Go ahead.
Okay. As Director Bergstrom mentioned, I also attended the PTSA meeting. The main topic there was, of course, the VEEP food drive also. And they kind of outlined, because there's a competition between buildings, so they outlined, how that's to work and the business partnerships and stuff for all of the PTA reps from each building there. And then the other thing is they're having a PTSA Spring Parent Academy that will be at Oak Grove Middle School Auditorium, 7 to 9 on April 28th. And the topic is protecting kids from drugs and the internet. And the presenters are the Bloomington Police Department's detectives Heather Potter and Heather Jensen. So that should be a good event for everyone to attend to learn about protecting our students. And I also attended the District Diversity Advisory Committee. They have some work that they've been asked to do that they may be bringing to us regarding some policies around some holidays and religion and some of the concerns that have been brought to that group. And I think the superintendent gave them a list of some things to work on. So they began their work that night on that. And they are also, the Office of Equity Education is hosting a One Family Unity Day that will be April 25th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., also at Oak Grove Middle School. And the Human Rights Commission is also having Mr. Civil Rights, Thurgood Marshall, and the NAACP, which will be Tuesday, May 12th, 2015 at 6:30 at the Bloomington Civic Plaza. I also attended Senior Achievement. I heard a lot of great compliments from parents afterwards, thanking us for having such a great event. So, and thanks to the team here that put that all together. I'm sure there was a lot of hard work that I just get to show up, and all the hard work was done before I got there. So thank you to the administration and staff for getting that put together. I also would like to mention that it is Autism Awareness Month this month in April. And I wanted to say that I heard from Director of Student Services, Eric Melby, that, we opened the new SUN program, Students with Unique Needs, and he surveyed the parents and has had very positive responses from the parents, and very happy with our new SUN program, which primarily serves students in Setting 3 autism program. So I'm very thrilled that the new program's been such a great success. So thank you to the staff for and the administration for putting that together. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah, I attended last Friday the AMSD meeting, and they had two guest speakers, and one of them is Mandy Schamberg. I'm trying to say the last name right, but maybe I didn't get it right. But anyway, she is the Education Deputy Director and Senior Counsel, Education and the Workforce Committee for the U.S. House of Representatives. And one of the highlights of her presentation was about food and nutrition. And, the policies that are in place right now regarding what needs to be served in schools when it comes to food for lunches. And so she did express that there is a national concern regarding not only what the kids are eating in the schools, but also that the fact that the kids are not liking what they are being served. And so it kind of calls for a review of what's being given. And also the concerns that some of our students are not getting enough, especially our athletes. The other guest speaker was Commissioner Brenda Casilius. And the conversation was pretty interesting between the board of directors and the commissioner. And there is concern about what we're seeing in what the proposal is for the increasing of the formula, which is still 1%, which is the initial proposal that came from Governor Dayton. Seems like he was hoping that the House will bring a bigger number, but it didn't happen. So now we're kind of looking at what the Senate is going to do. So she kind of urged, people to continue to advocate for an increase on that number, because 1%, the concern that was expressed that day is that it's not going to do it. It's really not going to help anybody. And then there were some, she also talked a lot about encouraging or people to continue to advocate for universal pre-K. There was also conversations regarding concerns about the teaching profession in terms of the inability for school districts to retain teachers, the amount of layoffs as well. And of course, with that 1% in the increase of the formula, we're not going to have too many options there either, and that's going to affect the teaching profession big time, even more than now. Also, kind of looking at the profession itself, the concerns regarding the fact that teachers, the profession is not being recognized as it should be, financially recognized. The teachers are working harder now, and the payment continues to be the same or less. In terms of what's coming next week with the Minnesota House and the Senate Education Finance Committee, they will be releasing their education budget bill. So this is the week when things are going to start getting pretty exciting. This is when the action is starting to happen right now. And I'll tell you what, as a review, what they provided for information was the House E-12 education budget target is $157 million, and the Senate target is $361 million, which is an increase of $11 million from previous announcement, and the governor's target is for $695 million. And that's all we know for now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I'll just say that we've been talking about the food drive, but no one's mentioned the dates, so I will mention them. That'll be April 27th through May 1st, so it is coming up quickly. And in our board packets tonight, I compiled the goals that you board members sent me, and we grouped them by the board's roles. So if you have a chance to look at these, if you have any concerns or anything, I kind of found that they were all pretty much the same. We all have the same concerns and suggestions, but we will discuss them on April 27th at our next study session, or the study session of April 27th. So that's all from me. Oh, one thing I did want to point out to bring it full circle, the gentleman that was the volunteer at tonight's VEEP,
Reed Nelson.
Reed Nelson was one of our speakers at the Senior Achievement Awards banquet a couple years ago. So it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that brings us to superintendent report.
I'll start with talking about the power of text messaging. I just received confirmation from our 2 high school ADs that we are trading in our high school used weight equipment.
Thank you.
Someone's watching.
You're good.
All right.
So I can't buy any.
Next topic is universal pre-K is being talked about at the legislature, so Tom Holton and I will be meeting with the commissioner to have a conversation about universal pre-K. Now I'm going to request 3 motions for board sessions. The first is a request for motion to establish an April 20th board study session at 7 p.m. And the topic to be discussed will be the Achievement Integration Plan and budget.
Someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the study session on April 20th at 7 p.m., please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Go ahead.
Administration requests a motion to establish a board retreat on Saturday, May 9th at 8 a.m. Agenda topics include administration plans. The second would be board 2015-16 goals and superintendent initiatives for 2015-16.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of a board retreat on
Hold on,
May...
that's one question
Oh.
about that. Is there an end time on that? It says 8 a.m. Is it 8 to 10, 8 to 11, or?
8
No,
to-
okay. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. May 9th from 8 a.m. till noon, a board retreat at a destination to be named later. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No, okay.
I said aye.
We'll
We
let you
need a
know.
motion to establish a joint meeting of the school board with the Bloomington City Council on Wednesday, April 29th at 7 p.m. here at the Educational Services Center.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of a joint meeting on Wednesday, April 29th?
What time?
At 7 p.m. It's a Wednesday. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll be out of town.
Pardon?
I'll be out of town.
Oh, okay. Any opposed? None. Thank you.
That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
20.
Any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.